All right, today we are going to be ranking the top 12 Dynasty QBs, including 2 rookies who have snuck into our top 12. So make sure you stick around. We're going to evaluate which of these QBs you should be taking in what order according to our rankings. Should be a lot of fun. First, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you smash that like button as well. That really helps the channel out. We've got Dynasty content coming out every single week at this point leading up to the Combine. So we really appreciate that. Make sure you check out our locals page as well. We've got listener leagues, playing leagues with us, our ADP data, and the rankings you'll see in today's video all available on Discord. Let's get into it. We're going to rank the top 12 Dynasty QBs, and this is going to be maybe a receipts video because we are going to put 2 rookies in our top 12, according to how we have them ranked. And obviously, you know, it being late February before the Combine has happened, this can be fairly risky because we actually don't know how this QB class is going to sort out yet. We don't know if these guys are going to get the draft capital that they need to be ranked top 12 right off the bat. We are going to go with our guts. It should be interesting. We're going to start with Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes coming off his... Patrick, he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh. He's not that good without Tyreek Hill.
But he is our he is our quarterback one. So obviously Mahomes coming off his second Super Bowl. He's one of the best football players of all time. He is looking incredible. And from a fantasy standpoint, he averaged 25.3 points per game last year. What, you guys have anything to add about Mahomes? I mean, it's just his success speaks for himself.
Is 27 too old?
No. Guys,
no.
I do not ever mention age when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, we've got Josh Allen. This is a guy that was really at the QB1 spot for a lot of last offseason. You're the Josh Allen guy.
Yeah,
obviously. Are you worried at all about him seeking out contact and rushing? Are you worried at all about his longevity? Are you worried at all about that? He struggled a little bit at the end of the year. I mean, we obviously still have him as QB2.
It was rough.
But thoughts on that? Because you're the Josh Allen guru here.
I mean, in the last 3 years he's been QB1, 1, and 2. I'm not really worried about it. I mean, this is fantasy. This is Dynasty. He has a big contract. In the long run, I mean, we don't want him to turn into Ben Roethlisberger and be a statue at the end of his career because he's taking so many hits. But I think he's shown the ability to be a good passer. And I think when he gets to that point in his age, him and his coaches will make that decision. I think it's fine. He scores fantasy points. Run it back.
Elite rushing upside. Talk to me a little bit about Nathan about why Joe Burrow is our QB3 in our Dynasty quarterback rankings.
Yeah, Joe Burrow has really defied all odds and all criticism from us, where way back when we had an issue with him even being ranked QB4 overall in Dynasty, and that just kind of blew up in our face. Didn't say he had, we said he didn't have the rushing upside to be a top 3 or top 4 Dynasty QB, and then he goes out there and has more rushing yards and rushing touchdowns than even Justin Herbert. So with the amount of volume from a passing perspective that Burrow has, and then the rushing upside on top of that, like, I'm just so comfortable and so thrilled to have Joe Burrow as a top 3 QB at this point. And I don't think you can really argue against it. You can argue for who we have here at QB4, and I won't argue against that either. I think they're in the same tier, Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, but we have Burrow at 3. So.
And you want to talk a little about Jalen Hurts since you're the Jalen Hurts champion?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts champion, I wish. I was not in on Jalen Hurts before this year, so I have a grand total of 0 shares drafted before this year.
Same.
But the reason I think he's my QB3 in Dynasty is because if we're looking, let's throw a picture up on screen of our top tier of the QBs. The top 3, Patrick Mahomes, 25.3 points per game. Josh Allen, 24.3 points per game. Jalen Hurts, 25.6 points per game. That is more than anyone else, any of the other QBs, any of the top QBs in Dynasty, and that's more than Joe Burrow, who had 21.7. He's 2 years younger. Age doesn't really matter that much, but they're both going to get massive contracts this year. I also think Jalen Hurts has an equally amazing supporting cast. I prefer the coaching staff in Philadelphia. I prefer the O-line. Yeah, I'll take the extra points per game, and they have great situations. He's a great quarterback, going to get a good contract, but they're all the same tier.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin Herbert comes in at number 5. This is a guy, obviously, he's my favorite player, a guy that I still think is deserving to go at the top of these startup drafts. You know, I do think, while I'm pretty underwhelmed by the Kellen Moore hire by the Chargers, I do think he's going to be a lot better for Justin Herbert from a down the field passing perspective, and that's going to have a direct impact on his fantasy points.
Mike Williams.
Yes, that is a great point, because if you look at really, Justin Herbert's season, not only did he struggle, now not just making excuses either, but he really did struggle through some injury, but his wide receivers and his weapons struggled through injury a lot. And as a result of that, I think they were really, really trying to run that offense through Austin Eckler. It really showed in his production, and as a result, Justin Herbert obviously coming in at 17 points per game. That's a fairly underwhelming, but you got to remember, he is only 25 years old. He is playing on a good team with very good weapons. He's got a new offensive coordinator. He's going to come back. Hopefully next season he's going to be healthy, and you saw already that he can produce at an elite level for a quarterback in Superflex leagues. So I'm not worried about Herbert. I think he's going to return to being 22-plus points per game next year, and I think he's going to cement his spot up here at the top with these other QBs. And then we have Trevor Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence, obviously probably one of our biggest quarterback risers in terms of getting up into this elite category. With Jalen Hurts, they both kind of moved their way up, and now with Trevor Lawrence, you're really seeing him go a lot at the 106. You see him going 105 even sometimes, just depending on how much they like Justin Herbert. So obviously Trevor Lawrence in the Colts division, we have seen Trevor Lawrence tear us up many, many times, and now he's starting to just kind of tear everybody up. So a little bit about Trevor Lawrence from one of you, I don't care which one, and why he's kind of made this rise and why he's kind of living up to the expectations that he had coming into the league now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has all the same tools as Justin Herbert, right? I mean, cannon for an arm, huge, great build,
he's a better prospect.
Good offense, but I think I prefer the Jaguars coaching staff. He's a little bit younger. Honestly, I could completely see someone making an argument, and they do, for Trevor Lawrence over Justin Herbert, and I'd be okay with it. We've seen Herbert do it already, and they're both really young. Cool.
I think you could make an argument to take Trevor Lawrence over almost anybody.
Yeah, he's great.
Like besides maybe Mahomes.
I mean, look what he did in that playoff game where they were down by that much, and yeah, he looked horrible in the first quarter, but he showed like generational ability and leadership in that game.
Don't you think you could see Trevor Lawrence going as high as I don't know.
This time next year, there is literally a chance that he could be the unquestioned QB2 this time next season.
I think so too. We're big on Trevor Lawrence. We got Lamar Jackson coming in at number 7 here. Now, this is interesting. Lamar spent some of the season hurt. His contract is still kind of in flux. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, and we assume he's going to stay with the Ravens at this point. He has a new offensive coordinator as Greg Roman made his way out, so it's going to look a little bit different. But Lamar is still Lamar. He's just turned 26, still very young, still very elite rusher. Tell me a little bit about why you still like Lamar, even though there's some cloudiness around his situation and his health.
Yeah, it's nice to see him not falling too much in startup drafts because of him struggling with injury for a second consecutive year. Greg Roman leaving the Ravens is a big deal. Not only for the receiving core there, but at the QB position. I mean, Lamar Jackson, I still would argue, is a much more capable passer than we have seen in the last couple seasons, and a lot of that is because of Greg Roman's offensive scheme. It's very unique. It caters to the running backs and the tight ends in that offense, and you're not really taking a ton of shots downfield. And really, to start the season, Lamar was taking some shots downfield to Bateman specifically.
Yeah, and then Bateman got hurt.
Yeah, and Bateman got hurt, and it was just not a great situation overall there in Baltimore. But with Lamar, I don't really care where he ends up next season. I could see the Ravens tagging him and then moving off of him, and I'll be happy wherever Lamar ends up going next season. He's going to get a mega deal regardless.
Even in a quote-unquote down year, he's averaging 20 points per game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Lamar is ridiculous, guys. Don't forget it. At number 8, we've got Deshaun Watson. I think there are a lot of people that aren't going to love this. I think this is where you start having people throw Fields in and maybe some of the rookies. And because we have Deshaun Watson up here, I think we're going to get a little bit of pushback. But Deshaun's still only 27 and a half years old. He's plenty young. He's in what is probably the best situation he's been in his entire career. And while I know there's some concern about him not playing football for an extended period of time, the fact of the matter is I think Deshaun will return to form, and I think you kind of saw that starting to progress that way at the end of the year. He started to look better on the field and from a fantasy perspective. So while his points per game this year, 15 points per game is not the best, it's also not the worst for not playing football for 2 years. He's got good weapons. He's got Amari Cooper. He's going to have Nick Chubb, Donovan Peoples-Jones was stepping into his own, and honestly, the Browns could continue to draft weapons to put around him as well.
And he's got a guaranteed contract. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
How you doing? Keep it moving. Next one.
The contract is huge, but guys, let me just say one thing about Deshaun.
Ruined it.
What?
I'm just kidding. No, you're good.
Okay. There is a similar... not the same situation, but kind of, where you see this guy leave for a couple years in the NFL, and then he comes back and he ends up playing at an elite level, both in the NFL and in fantasy. And it took him a while to come back. This is Michael Vick. I have no problem comparing the Michael Vick situation to the Deshaun Watson situation because they were both elite QBs of their time.
We're getting edgy.
Don't forget what Deshaun Watson did as an NFL player 2 years ago. He comes back. Why are you so low on him? Because he didn't play well after being out of the league for 2 seasons, almost 2 full seasons. Like, I'm almost willing to completely overlook it. And like you said, he's shown strides of improvement already in a brand new offense, brand new coaching staff, brand new everything. He's going to be fine coming into this next season.
Okay, well, we'll see what the script writers have to say about that. Kyler Murray.
Right, yeah. So Kyler is a guy that we have ranked higher than what the ADP is. We have him at the QB 9. I think he's probably going off the board the QB 11, 12 maybe. I think the rookies are going over him. I think Justin Fields is going over him for sure. So this is somebody that if you compared our rankings
QB 10 right now
to ADP data, we have him as a quote-unquote a buy. Somebody that was going in the top 7 picks last year, pretty much in every startup. Somebody with elite, rushing upside, still 19 points per game this year, and what was an awful situation. Cliff Kingsbury cannot coach. But what do you guys like about Kyler going into next season? Although he is coming off the ACL tear, what are you concerned about? But also, why are we buying into him so much at this price point?
I'm honestly I'm not really concerned about Kyler at all. In terms of his injury, if it takes away from his rushing upside a little bit, I don't really care because his passing volume is so significant. And I already didn't like how much he was running to begin with. With this injury, this could be an offensive wake-up call for their coaching staff and saying, hey, Kyler is not the most durable guy if you're going to specifically write up plays for him to run and take those hits. I think he's shown that he really shouldn't be doing that as often as they were using him in that way. And if they use him more in the pocket, he can stay in the pocket and he can make big deal throws and he can throw the ball 35 times a game.
He fits in the pocket.
So with
short jokes, really?
With Gannon coming in, I don't know why we're so concerned about Kyler Murray coming into a new offensive system, because the offensive system with Cliff Kingsbury wasn't that great anyways, and Kyler didn't. I think it was pretty obvious that he and Kingsbury were not getting along.
I mean, they did stick a defensive coach with him, so I can see that argument too. Like, it's not like Gannon has he's going to have to make a really good hire at offensive.
I mean,
yes,
Dan Campbell's a defensive coach, right?
Yeah,
the right coach puts their good pieces in place.
It's all about
the OC though. It's Ben Johnson. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The OC hire has to be good.
Yeah,
I can see that concern.
But that doesn't mean that Gannon is incapable of communicating a team strategy and communicating with his offensive coordinator what he needs to see and what Kyler is best at. I mean, that's why he got the head coaching job, is they think he's going to be able to do that. So I'm excited for what Kyler is going to do going into this next season.
Anything can be better than Cliff Kingsbury.
Anything is better than saying his name too, because I totally botched that as well. Hey, can you imagine, just in an alternate universe, can you imagine if they had hired Shane Steichen to be with Kyler? That would be disgusting.
Wow.
Like, he would be such a buy right now. But we got him, so darn. All right, moving on. We've got 2 rookies now. Let's talk about the first one that we have ranked as our QB 10, and that is going to be Bryce Young of Alabama. We expect Bryce Young probably to go 101 in the draft, but that obviously can change. At this point, that's kind of the buzz we're hearing. Tell me a little bit about why Bryce Young is starting in our top 12 QBs before we even see him play.
Yeah, man. Bryce Young's a different breed. He's going 101 in the NFL draft, and outside of Zach Wilson, almost every QB that gets that much draft capital is going to get a chance, and they're going to get another chance, and they're going to get so many chances. We're seeing it with Trey Lance right now. He's going into his 3rd year, and he's still going to be young, and he's going to get a chance to start again. He hasn't proved anything yet. So Bryce Young is going to have so many chances as a young QB with all of this talent to come in the NFL and prove himself. On top of that, from what we've seen from his film, he is so good. He's so good at manipulating pressure in the pocket and creating plays when nothing is happening. And that is something that's so necessary in the NFL right now. I mean, you see that in Josh Allen and in Patrick Mahomes and in all of these QBs at the top with these talents that the NFL teams are desiring. And so, especially Nathan and I all in on Bryce Young. Really excited.
Yeah, and the size, I understand the size argument. I understand that Bryce Young will have to, from a size perspective, be an outlier. But if Bryce Young is going top 5 in the NFL draft, that means the NFL is expecting him to be an outlier. So if he goes at that point, I am all in on Bryce Young because he is so good.
Yeah,
I'm also all.
Oh yeah,
No, I'm not taking
Stroud.
a shot at you.
Yeah,
no, I
know you just
like
prefer
Bryce
Stroud.
plenty.
but I think the deal with both of these rookie QBs is this is how you get that guy that's going in the top 5 of a dynasty startup. You gotta take the shot on them when they're still going in the second.
Fair.
So these guys, when they're being ranked 12th and 10th, you have to be willing to take that shot. Otherwise, you're never going to end up with maybe having Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes on the same roster because at some point in time, someone did that by taking a shot before they were valued highly.
Yeah,
and so that's what we're doing here. We're calling our shots.
Absolutely. I just realized that we have a player that separates the 2 rookie QBs, and that's Justin Fields. And I also just realized we're going to get trashed because we have Justin Fields at the QB.
I know those are just composite rankings because I personally had Young and Stroud over Fields.
It's the composite for the 4 of us.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying because we have Justin Fields outside of the top 10 of QBs, people are going to be roasting us.
I know. It's funny.
Listen, Justin Fields, 20 points per game this year. Still 24 years old. Going to get better weapons. I'm not even going to mention that there have been pretty credible reports that they could take Bryce Young. Why? Why would we say that? Because it's actual news? Because it's true?
Why would they ever take
do
better
that?
prospect?
Why would they take a better QB?
I don't know.
But Justin Fields still a very valuable dynasty asset. You're probably the most sympathetic towards Justin Fields. I'll let you kind of do your...
Yeah, we're talking fantasy. Justin Fields scores points. I should have seen it last year with Jalen Hurts. Wouldn't you say we all should have seen it? Yes. He's extremely efficient on the ground. He's going to score points. So why not draft him? Worst case scenario, he gets traded and he's going to do the same thing on another team. I don't really see a case that happens. I don't really see a future where Justin Fields is not a starting NFL QB in the next, 6, 7, 8 years. So why should he not be valued highly in Dynasty? He's going to produce and he's going to be a starting QB somewhere. Whether it's on the Bears or not, it might even be better for him.
Yeah, but that's my one question is how much of the market value of Justin Fields right now is being dictated by, Chicago Bears fans right now. So if he goes to a different team, will his market value fall to the middle of the second round? And if it does, I'm running to get Justin Fields at that point.
I doubt it is, but at the same time,
there's 32 teams in the NFL.
Okay.
So you don't think fan base is not driving Justin Fields.
You don't think it'll move regardless?
Loud,
they are pretty loud.
I don't know. I have a gut feeling that they'll stick with Fields, and I do think we need to. So since you're everybody's favorite because you gave the Justin Fields defense, explain why we're taking these guys over Justin Fields. You might be taking Fields.
I have Fields over these two. So
over Murray and Young.
And
no,
just Young.
So I had Justin Fields over Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
Yes. Yeah. So we all have them. But why? So why do we take Kyler and Deshaun and Lamar over Justin Fields? Because he's going over these guys in startups.
They've definitely shown a better ability. Longer to run an NFL offense. They can move the ball efficiently down the field, and they don't have to use their legs on every play. I do have worries at this point in time about Justin Fields and his ability to run an NFL offense, and just sit there, stand in the pocket, and move the ball downfield without having to get out of the pocket and create that way, which is a skill that you want your QB to have, but I'm worried about that.
Contract.
Contract. Kyler has a huge contract. Dak has one as well.
Deshaun does.
Deshaun, fully guaranteed. Lamar Jackson, he's going to get one too.
Let's move on to our QB 12, CJ Stroud. Kind of the same thing here. If he gets drafted in the top 5 picks, we've seen what he can do. We saw it in college at Ohio State. He was hyper productive there. He's got a great skill set that I personally really like in terms of translating to the NFL. And if he goes to a situation like Indianapolis, I think there's no doubt that CJ Stroud is going to be a very desirable QB in dynasty leagues from day one, just purely based on his draft capital, the skill set he has, the level of prospect he has, and his landing spot. So talk a little bit about why we have him ranked this high over guys like Dak and Tua, etc., Trey Lance, guys like that.
Because he's probably most likely to get a really, really good landing spot. And I think his ceiling with his rushing upside and with his passing volume, it's too promising to pass up. And I don't really see a scenario where his value goes down from here until the start of the season. So I think you legitimately could get, if you wanted to move away from Stroud, if you acquire him in a rookie draft at the 102 or 103, you could get from now until the start of next season Dak plus.
Yeah,
you just could.
That's absolutely true.
That's why I'm probably taking Stroud over Dak. I don't know where I have him in my rankings personally, but I can see the argument for Stroud over Dak right now.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, he's younger. They both have limited rushing upside in fantasy. Dak's not an incredible NFL QB, and we don't know if CJ Stroud is either, so why not take the 8-year gap there? Dak had 17.8 fantasy points per game. I think CJ Stroud is completely capable of that, but at a much... just reset the time.
Yeah,
just reset the clock there.
Yeah, I personally have Dak over Stroud and Young just purely because he is in the NFL and he's done it for multiple years.
Yeah, it's just
valid. That's just me being conservative.
We have them all in the same tier.
Yeah, no problem with Young and Stroud over Dak at all.
All right, you can find the rest of our QB rankings on our locals page, so make sure you head over there and get on our Discord. That's where we release all of these rankings, including where guys like Tua, Trey Lance, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, things fall like that. So make sure you check that out. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you smash like in the video. We really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.